Welcome to Unapologetically Sensitive, a place to find connection, a sense of belonging, and community, where you can learn, relate, laugh, and maybe even live a bolder, brighter life. I'm your host, Patricia Young, licensed clinical social worker. The information in this podcast is not a substitute for help from a licensed mental health professional. This is a weekly podcast where we explore how sensitivity weaves itself into our lives. We talk about the richness that it adds, the strengths we have because of our sensitivity, and some of the challenges it poses as well. Sensitivity is nothing to apologize for. It's our superpower. Hey there. This is bonus episode 32, and I wanted to drop in and do what I hope will be a quick episode about, do therapists have therapists? And I'm going to talk to you about the misconceptions of therapy, in my estimation, what therapy is about. Do therapists care about their clients if they're being paid? Can a friend or a partner be like a therapist? And then I'm also going to talk a little bit about HSPs and therapy. And my concern is that I'm going to forget something in talking about this. And especially I know that there are quite a number of therapists that listen to this podcast. So feel free to drop me a line. Let me know what I forgot and left out. I'm happy to do a catch-up episode. I also usually just write bullet points. And for some reason in this episode, I have a ton of notes and I don't really do well when I read a bunch of notes. So we'll see how it goes. So the burning question is, do therapists have therapists? I think there's a real big misconception about therapy, that you go to therapy because you're broken and you need to get fixed, or you're unhappy and you want to learn how to be happy. There's some truth in that, but it's not this linear. I think that when we see these things of go to therapy and learn to be happy and joyous and free, that we're taking kind of a approach that someone's broken and that they need to learn tools to become somebody that they're not. And so with this train of thought, it looks like you're broken, you go get fixed, and then you're done. That's not the approach that I really believe in. And I really believe that therapy is about getting support. You know, we're all human beings and we have things that we struggle with. Some things are going well, some things aren't going well. And therapy is really about having somebody who's got no investment in what happens. So you can go into therapy, you can be angry or mad or be disappointed, and you don't have to worry about your feelings affecting the relationship. You don't have to worry about people pleasing or what the other person's reaction is going to be. You don't have to worry about making the therapist angry. A good therapist is going to be able to manage all of the feelings that you have. And so all you have to do is to show up, and the therapist helps you uncover what's going on. Therapy is about learning about tools to help you navigate these difficulties, because as we go through different stages in our lives, we're faced with new challenges that we haven't dealt with before. Oftentimes we've got blind spots. We also have wounding from childhood, and I've talked to you about some of my wounds have to do with relationships, with abandonment. Some people have problems with trust in relationships. They've got challenges with work, with friends, with partners. And then as I talked about, at each different stage in our life, we face new challenges that we haven't really experienced before. So things like if you are starting college or you get a new job, you start a new relationship, you end a relationship, getting married, having kids, having difficulty getting pregnant and having children, if you've got gender identity issues. And I'm thinking that I didn't put anything in here about, and I don't even know how to language it, so I'm really wanting to learn. But if you're having challenges because you're in a marginalized group and you're not being treated fairly, those are other reasons why somebody might come to therapy. Not that it's your problem, but to learn tools so that you manage better and to figure out what environments you want to be in. I feel like I'm digging myself a hole here. So having kids, launching kids, if you've got kids that return to live home, if your kids get married, caring for parents, if you're changing careers, having a change in health for either yourself, your partner, your child, your parent, death, grief, loss of job. I mean, there are many more reasons, but all of these are things that bring up a new skill set that we often don't have. Therapy will help remind us of what our strengths are. What have we done that's worked in the past? Because again, if you take that view of we always have things that are going well and we have things that we're struggling with. So it's about pulling on what's worked for us in the past. Therapy can also help us connect to our intuition, what our supports are, how to be our best self. I think when there's a lot going on, sometimes we feel so overwhelmed, and especially as highly sensitive people, we can be pretty impacted by negativity when things are not going well, and sometimes we forget about the things that really are working. A therapist can also help us deal with narratives, the stories that we make up in our heads, the negative chatter, our gremlins. As I've said before, it's not that we stop those things, but we learn to recognize when those voices come up, what's coming up for us, what's the truth in them, how do we manage them, how do we put our gremlins in the back seat, which is totally from Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote the book Big Magic. A therapist can also help us identify what we're really wanting in life. What are the things that are blocking us? How do we get there? So if you look at therapy as a support, everyone can benefit from therapy. I'm not saying everybody should go, but I'm just saying if you take this point of view, everyone can benefit from therapy. Many therapists have therapists. And I was reflecting back when I was in high school, my mom was in a new relationship with someone that was really, really challenging for me. And I found a therapist that I could see when I was in high school. And it was such a positive experience that it really opened me up. And I was thinking about it. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've had 7 therapists after that first therapist. And they were at different stages in my life when things were going on and I needed support. And some of them I saw for a number of years because that was the type of work that we did. A therapist is someone who cares about you. And I know people will often say, but I'm paying you. I can tell you as a therapist, I really care about my clients. When I'm mindful and make sure that I pick clients that I know I will be a good fit for and that I will work well with, I genuinely care about those clients and what goes on in their lives. Sometimes I think about them outside of work. This is controversial. People are going to tell you that, when you leave work, you should leave work. But I'll tell you, I'm human, and the people that I work with, I genuinely care about. The thing that's different with a therapist is that we learn to have professional boundaries. We can be caring and care for our clients, but not get into that tangle that you do when it's a personal relationship. And so there's kind of a distinction there. The other advantage to being a therapist and caring for your clients is I know that it's my client's job to do their work. I can be there. I can hold space when they're struggling, when they're not doing well. And I have faith in their ability to work through whatever's going on. And so I don't get into that tangle that we have with our partners or our children. If they don't do something, then it may impact us. And so we have an investment in them taking action or doing things or feeling things. With a therapist, the therapist is there totally for you. So we're all humans and we struggle. We need support. We need input. Sometimes we need a nudge. We need compassion. We need self-compassion. And a good therapist is going to be able to see where your blind spots are and to figure out when to nudge, how hard to nudge. They'll negotiate with you. This is a little controversial, and I know I'm going to get myself in a pickle. So can a friend or a partner be a therapist? Now, for me, I show up pretty much the same way in the world, whether you're my partner, my friend, my child, my client. It's just pretty integrated into how I am. I have a best friend who's a therapist, and we talk a lot, and she's my go-to person, and she will let me know when I have blind spots. I plan on doing an episode pretty soon. I had a shame attack over getting into business that really wasn't my business to get into, and I had asked her about it, and she reflected to me that I wasn't in my own lane, and I had a shame spiral about it. And she and I were able to talk about it. That's for another episode. Friends and partners can definitely provide support for you. It just gets a little tangled sometimes because they may have things that are going on. They may have a reaction to your feelings. Your issue may collide with their issue. They may not be able to be there for you. They may have an investment in how they want you to behave. And so that makes it a little bit more complicated. And so hopefully we have people in our lives that provide good support to us, that we talk to about things. But sometimes we need someone who doesn't have an investment that's not attached to our situation. And we also have our own stuff that we put on other people. So that can be difficult, that if I'm talking to my partner and he's got his own issues, it's going to be hard for him to have a clear lens about my situation because he's going to see it through his own experience. I want to talk a little bit about therapy and the highly sensitive person. Dr. Elaine Aron estimates that 50% of clients in therapy are highly sensitive people. That's because we want to know about ourselves. We love reading and learning, and we want to figure things out. And highly sensitive people have better outcomes in therapy compared to non-highly sensitive people. Now, if you're a highly sensitive person, you want to find a therapist who's HSP knowledgeable. And if you go to hsperson.com, there's a list of coaches and therapists that are knowledgeable in HSPs. In order to be on that list, you get the book Psychotherapy and the HSP. That may not be the exact name. You have to read it. You have to take a test. You have to pass it. You can also Google therapists near me that know about highly sensitive people. You want to talk to them and see what they know. You definitely want to have a good fit with your therapist. You really want to feel like your therapist gets you. And what I can tell you about my early experience with therapists is, because my mom was so overwhelmed that she would often withdraw because she was overwhelmed, and it felt like disapproval to me. The first couple therapists that I had were similar to this. I figured they could read my mind. They could see everything that was going on with me. I had so much shame about who I was that just therapy was challenging. I didn't feel good when I left. I often left therapy and ate ice cream or got candy because it would stir up stuff, and I didn't have the tools. I didn't even know to tell my therapist that I'd leave, and so much shame would get triggered. That's really not ideal therapy, and I didn't know any better. Some of my therapists were not warm. I don't feel like they cared for me. I didn't know any better. The only relationship that I knew was like the one with my mom, so I sort of figured that that's how all relationships were. So you really want to get the sense that your therapist gets you, that they've got your back, that they care for you. I have a number of clients who are therapists, and I love working with therapists because many of them have worked through a lot of their issues. They're able to process their stuff. They own their stuff. They kind of know what some of their wounding is. And often they're ready to jump directly into the issues since they've done that preliminary work. And as I've shared with you, I have lots of wounding from childhood. It still comes up. Does it keep me from living my life? Not at all. But it comes up, and I need the tools to deal with it when it comes up. So, to our original question, do therapists have therapists? Absolutely. And it helps us to become better therapists. We get to know what our triggers are, our strengths, our shortcomings. It increases our insight, our awareness. I've been pretty open with you about talking about what my issues are because I know that they don't define me. It's not a secret. It's not something that I hide. It's not something I'm ashamed of. I've done a lot of hard work on myself and my issues. And if you have a therapist that really works well with you, we kind of start to pull out that shadow side, the parts of us that we feel like are not okay or not acceptable. And we show little pieces of us to our therapist, and we find out why those have helped us to survive, and that our therapist helps us embrace those parts of us. It really can lead to a place of having incredible freedom. I struggle with stuff, and I don't have the perfect life. And I've shared quite a bit of that with you. And I can tell you that I'm pretty okay with the different parts of who I am, and the things maybe are not perfect. It's just who I am. As you know, I don't swear on this show. So instead of saying the word, I'm going to say shirt. So everybody has their own shirt to work on. And if it works to get support and therapy, it can be an amazing, amazing experience. I hope you found this helpful. Okay, so I know I kind of went off on why therapy is important, but I really do think that therapy, if you have the right therapist, can make such a change in your life. If you're interested in working with me, I'm working with clients online who live in California. We meet over a platform that's kind of like Skype, but it's private. I've had clients who really didn't think that they would like doing telehealth, and it turns out that it was amazing, and it's been a wonderful connection for them, and I really feel connected to my online clients. If you're interested, you can go to my website, Patricia Young, LCSW. We have a closed Facebook group called Unapologetically Sensitive. We're building a great community there. If you're finding these episodes helpful, please go to iTunes, or if you have an app on your phone, to rate and review. It really makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate everybody who's giving me feedback, that you're here and you're listening. Remember, sensitivity is nothing to apologize for. It's our superpower. Have a blessed day.